Guys, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel. Book review time. I just finished this literally this morning. This is called Less by Andrew Sean Greer. This is a book that I got from Target. As you can see, it was in Target pretty much carries a lot of best-selling type books, so I feel like it's already, there's like a good selection to begin with. Plus it says national bestseller, Pulitzer Prize winner. It has all these various accolades. Looks really just kind of like intriguing and interesting by the cover. I'm totally the girl who judges a book by its cover. And I mean, like, who doesn't? I judge bottles of wine by their cover. I judge, you know what I mean? It's like I at least am initially attracted based on the cover, the title, etc. So I picked it up, read the back, didn't really know much about it, decided to read it. Have my book diary journal thing here where I jotted some things down. So let's talk about the book Less. I am gonna start off by giving you my rating because in this journal you rate it out of 5. And I feel like my rating sometimes, I don't know, I'm really gonna try to like hone in and be really like non-biased or I want my rating scale to be like even, because I don't know if sometimes if I was going to be in a good mood or whatever, maybe I would give it up. I don't know. Does that make sense? I also just had a lot of coffee and I just got home from a long day of work, and so I'm kind of scatterbrained. But I actually only rated this book at a 2.5 stars, but it's okay. But there's like a caveat with it. I do recommend it and I did enjoy it, and here's the thing, I do actually want to read it again, which might seem a little weird because I did rate it relatively low, but let's get into the why. So the reason it had the lower rating, well, let me give you some background on this novel. So this is about an author, like a novelist, who is about to turn 50, and it calls him a failed novelist about to turn 50. This wedding invitation arrives in his mail. His boyfriend of the past 9 years is engaged to someone else. I'm literally reading the back, so I'm not even reading my own plot notes, but you can't say yes to the invitation because it would be too awkward. You can't say no. It will look like you are defeated. And so instead, what he does is he plans a trip literally around the world. Okay, so I had no clue. I don't even know if I read the back, honestly, or if I did, it was like way before I actually read the book. My phone's going off, sorry. So it starts out with this character and he talks about, his ex-boyfriend. I had no clue that the main character was gay, and not that that matters, but it was just like I literally knew nothing. So his ex-boyfriend, who was younger than him, invited him to his wedding, and he's going on this trip and he's having all these different feelings about turning 40, and he's reflecting on his past and then his first boyfriend and different things like that. The storyline is quite interesting. And there was so much, there were so many good quotes in this book. I wrote down a million quotes, and I'm actually gonna have to start using a bigger journal to write down my quotes because the amount of space that they give you for quotes in here is literally nothing. Can you see that? Favorite quotes? No. So I'm gonna need to write them all out in a journal, and then I'm talking so much. I'm so rambly. I'm sorry. Okay. The reason why this book had a lower rating was because it was a little hard to follow and it had really long chapters. One thing that's neat is that the premise is the chapters are, so there's at first, which is the first chapter, at last, which is the final chapter, and then in between, every chapter is simply a country that he goes to. So there's French, Italian, Mexican, Indian, I'm just flipping through here. There's all the German, all these different places where he goes. The chapters were long, and it's kind of a mental thing, but I have a pretty short attention span and I just don't do great with long chapters. So those are the reasons why it's an overall lower rating. But let me tell you something, and I think that's why it's a Pulitzer winner. This was definitely more of a, how do I say it? It's not a very surfacey novel. There's definitely a lot more depth to it. And I think it's one of those novels where once you read it, then for a second time, and then maybe a third time, and then, you're gonna get more and more and more. You're gonna dive deeper and deeper into the layers and into the different complexities. And the style of writing is actually really good. You can recognize that it's very intelligent, complex, cool writing. It's just not a light, easy read. With that said, it's not some Shakespeare novel or not some you know, hardcore academic novel, but it does remind me in a lot of ways of like various books that I read in high school, books that I really enjoyed, but that were not like a light, easy escapism type like beach read. This definitely has some more substance. There's, you know, some vocab words in there that I definitely had to Google, and there's just different metaphors and like tangents that it goes off on that it can be a little hard to follow. And I think for me, number one, I'm a very distracted human being. Like I have a really horrible attention span. That's kind of always been my cross to bear when it comes to reading. I love reading, but like I can't sit still literally for longer than like 20 minutes. Like that's real, that's true. So the best place where I ever get reading done is on an airplane, just because then I'm forced. I wasn't on any airplanes during this book. So it was a little hard to follow. However, part of that too is because like I would be reading this before bed on a work day, right? Or like I've had a long day, I'm physically tired, my brain is tired, like it wasn't as easy to digest all the words, you know what I'm saying, as if I was like on a vacation or I don't know, on an airplane, wherever you might do your best reading. With that said though, like the quotes in this, oh my gosh, they spoke to me. This is by far the most Oliver book review I've ever done. Katie, let's do what we teach the children and breathe. Okay, so one of the overall themes of this book is love. Love, 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 love. And for me personally, this was like perfect. Well, okay, a book exploring love is kind of perfect in a way because my inquisitive little brain has always had so many questions about like love and this and that, and especially just recent years of my life, like I just have a lot of these deep kind of pondering things, and this talks about them. And so I'm literally like not giving anything away. I feel like I'm actually not really telling you anything and probably am rambling so much. But one thing, okay, so there's all these love quotes that are like all over the place, right? So one of the first ones, it was in the first chapter, and this really captivated me, was heartbreak. How can you avoid it except to renounce love entirely? And I relate to that so much, I can't even tell you. Like, that has been me multiple times. That's kind of me right now. Just like, oh, well, heartbreak like really sucks. So I just like won't play that game anymore. Like, I just like won't deal with love ever again. This was another quote that I thought was really interesting. It was the character talking about getting older and getting into his, you know, being middle-aged, and how with age and with time, different facets of life become maybe a little bit boring, or a little bit like you're kind of immune to them. You've kind of seen and experienced enough things to kind of be complacent or numb or whatever, like the way it's phrased. Okay, how can so many things become a bore by middle age? Philosophy, radicalism, and other fast foods, but heartbreak keeps its sting. That stood out to me. I thought that was a really interesting quote. So there's some that are like that, where it's kind of talking about like, no, like love. But then at the flip side, there's quotes like this one. He's talking about different guys that he's dated or he's been with, and he's like, you know, that person had this good quality and that person had this good quality, and like they would have been a good partner because of this. They would have been you know, and it says so many people will do, but once you've actually been in love, you can't live with will do. It's worse than living with yourself. I really liked that one too. So it is recognizing that like once you've really, really felt like real true love, like it's this crazy feeling that kind of changes you. And you know, what else? Oh, this one kind of killed me a little bit because, so again, it's like this whole journey. It's like all these layers of like love and relationships and long lasting love, and like what's considered a success, what's considered a failure, and human reaction, what humans do. And like, so this one, it was, this is not really a spoiler because like it's not even one of the main characters, and I don't know, but it's a character that's telling the main character about how he is getting a divorce from his husband of 20 years. And the main character is very like, oh my gosh, what? Are you sure? And I'm so sorry, and blah, blah, blah. You know, I don't want you to like, no, you guys aren't a failure. Like, no, you can't break up. And the character says, he goes on this whole speech about like, no, that's not what I'm saying. It's not a failure. We were together for 20 years. And he says 20 years of anything with another person is a success. If a band stays together 20 years, it's a miracle. If a comedy act stays together for 20 years, it's a triumph. Is this night a failure just because it will end in an hour? Is the sun a failure because it's going to end in a billion years? No, it's the effing sun. Why does a marriage not count? And that quote, like, I love, but I hate, because I very much have this thing with, it kind of goes back to the whole, the only way to avoid heartbreak is to renounce love completely. I have this whole thing where, yes, a 20-year relationship, like, I could view that as a success, and I can view certain elements of certain relationships of mine as successes. Like, certainly there's not 100% negative and failure from, like, all your varying relationships that end, be it friendships, be it romance, whatever. But for me, it's like, but I don't want to ever deal with the heartbreak that comes with when these bad things happen. I don't know, am I making any sense whatsoever? So, like, it's really interesting. It's like, it's facing that head on, that concept that, like, let's be honest, most relationships don't last. Most marriages don't last forever. A 20-year marriage, like, I hate to say it, but like that can be a success. And like, I don't know. Okay, but then what else? It'll go back to, here's another quote. This girl's talking about, we know that there's no such thing as a love of your life. Love it isn't terrifying like that. It's walking the effing dog so the other person can sleep in. It's doing taxes. It's cleaning the bathroom without hard feelings. Having an ally in life. It's not fire. It's not lightning. And so it talks a lot about that, about how, like, love and long-lasting love is, like, there's no such thing as, like, love of your life, soulmate, whatever. And, like, I personally don't believe in that. And it doesn't explicitly say that, but it just, like, really leans into all these different ways to view it. And it's really interesting. And I really like that. Like, that's true. That's the reality. Like, cleaning the bathroom without hard feelings, like, you don't think about that when you are in the honeymoon phase with someone, or when you're, like, thinking about your future partner. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And then some other quotes later, like, they're talking about when someone, like, when you really are kind of captivated by that person and stuff. And it's talking about how, like, this person might annoy you, like, this characteristic might annoy you, and this characteristic might annoy you about this other person, and blah, blah, blah. And you think, like, oh, that's just how love is. And then this quote says, maybe you can go through your whole life. And then it says, like, but that's because you haven't met them or whatever. Maybe you can go through your whole life and never meet them and think love is all those other things. But if you do meet them, God help you, because then kabam, you're screwed. And so, like, that in itself is almost contradictory of the whole, there is no love of your life. And, like, I don't know, it's just, it's one of those things where, like I said, I immediately out the gate felt like I needed to give it a somewhat lower rating, because it was a little harder for me to get through. It was like a little, you know what I mean? Not like my total average typical read, but upon reflecting and as I'm marinating on it, like, it's a really good book. It is. It's just not like a light, easy read. And so, like I said, I think I want to read it again and just really marinate and reflect on it and maybe read up on it. I don't know, but that's my review. I definitely do recommend it if that sounds at all intriguing to you. Like, I think too, it's one of those books where, like, well, okay, I did really like the ending. I did. It didn't, like, leave things too up in the air, but it didn't give you, like, a total specific ending. Just this whole book, I think its whole purpose is literally just, like, make you think. And, like, get your philosophical, like, juices flowing, especially when it comes to love and relationships, which I already do that enough as it is. So that was by far the most rambly, crazy, all over the place book review I've ever done. But that's just how I'm feeling right now. So let me know please let me know if you've read this. I would love to know if you haven't clicked off by now. Please let me know. Tell me your thoughts. I want to know. This was good. And I want to read it again. I do. And maybe I'm, like, changing my rating as we speak, because it was good. It just was a little bit of a challenge for me. I'm going to shut up now. I'm tired. Thanks for watching. Love you. Bye.